A few years ago, I was walking through the woods off the beaten track a bit, and I smelt this really overpowering sweet smell. Being nosy, I pulled back the undergrowth to have a look and found a dead body. The guy had clearly been there a while and wasn't looking great, all swollen and green and black with various runny bits. The local wildlife had also been dining well for a few days. I called the police, who told me to wait with the body until they arrived. Being in the middle of nowhere, it took a while for them to arrive, and it got dark, and I was just sat there in the dark with him for a long time. It turned out he had committed suicide. For a long time afterwards, I had dreams about him, and he would talk to me, and not nice things. Mainly about how he was angry I had disturbed his resting place and he wanted me to kill myself. Probably just my imagination, but all pretty disturbing at the time. He still turns up in my dreams from time to time, and no doubt will be tonight after typing this. About 2 years ago, I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night, and the drive was about 2 hours. I didn't stay the night because I had to be back for work the following day. Most of the drive was on roads with dense bushes and trees on either side, the real creepy ones you see a lot in movies. Anyway, I had been driving about 45 minutes, and I was starting to get really tired. You know how sometimes you just suddenly become really tired, out of nowhere? Well, yeah, that happened to me. I knew I wasn't going to last, but I didn't come across any place that I felt I could park and safely sleep. Anyway, after it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find a place to pull up, and my tiredness wasn't going away, I did something very questionable. I pulled over to the side of the road onto the grass behind some bushes to try and hide my car from anybody else who was going to come past. The roads weren't empty. I came across another car every few minutes or so. I made a mental note that the time was 11:22 and then fell asleep. Sometime later, I was awoken by a scratching sound. I looked at the clock, 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds, and because I was still extremely tired, I didn't bother looking around and simply went back to sleep. I was later awoken by the same sound, and it was now 12:40. This time it really freaked me out because the sound didn't stop. The thought ran across my mind that it was just an animal inspecting the car, but why would it return almost an hour after it had left the previous time? I looked in my rearview mirror and just managed to catch a glimpse of something running away into the forest. Now, at the time, I thought it was the damn hook killer. You know, the one that scratched that couple's car and then slaughtered the guy when he got out to investigate? Fuck that, I thought to myself, so I got the hell out of there. There was a bend no more than 100 yards up the road, and as I came around it, there was a fucking car parked off to the side of the road with the driver's side door opened. I slowed down just to look to see if anyone was in there. There wasn't. Then I looked in my rearview mirror. I didn't see anything, and all of a sudden, this guy comes sprinting around the corner. He starts screaming at me, shouting stuff like, hey, you! Get the fuck out of your car, now! I noped the fuck out of there and sped off. I never saw the guy again. Moral of the story: don't fucking sleep on the side of a deserted road. You ever get that feeling? When you wake up for no reason, but something deep inside you knows you're not alone? That's how it started for me. Just another quiet night in rural Georgia that turned into something I still can't explain. I had awesome parents. They'd let me sleep in the living room on weekends. My sister was a light sleeper, and I was the kind of kid who loved staying up watching Nick at night until I passed out on the couch. That night was no different. The TV glowed faintly in the dark, my dog snored beside me, and the world outside was silent until it wasn't. I woke up suddenly, not to a noise, but a feeling. A sharp prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like something invisible had just looked directly at me. I bolted upright and turned toward the front window, and there under the pale light of the moon was a shape, a man's silhouette, perched in the tree across our yard. Perfectly still, perfectly watching. Before I could even breathe, our dog lunged at the window, growling and snarling like he wanted to tear through the glass. That's when panic hit me. I ran for my parents' room, tears in my eyes, trying to explain that there was someone outside, someone in the tree. My dad didn't hesitate. He grabbed something from the nightstand, something heavy, and stormed out into the yard with the dogs. I remember clutching my mom's nightgown, trembling while we waited. When he came back, he looked tired. Confused, he said he didn't find anyone, just empty trees swaying in the moonlight. I tried to believe him. I really did. I went back to my room, still shaking, and told my sister what happened. Dad started making rounds through the house, coffee in hand, trying to act calm. Eventually, the fear started to fade. I remember thinking, okay, I can sleep now, but then something made me look toward my window. He was there. The same man, standing just outside my window, his face barely visible in the moonlight. He raised one finger to his lips and gave me a slow, deliberate shush. Then, without a sound, he turned around and ran straight into the woods. No hesitation, no glance back, just gone. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I cried until the sun came up. My parents never found anyone. But to this day, when the moonlight hits those trees just right, I still catch myself watching, just in case he's still watching me. I was 17, fresh license in my pocket, windows down, and the world felt endless. My friends and I had this stupid little hobby, finding abandoned houses. The creepier the better. We'd sneak in, hang out, maybe throw a few parties. You know, just teenage stupidity mixed with a thirst for adrenaline. But there was this one house, one that none of us were brave enough to actually enter. Every night on my way home from work, I'd pass it. A half-built mansion sitting alone on an empty lot off Route 19. No lights, no sound. Just a shell of concrete and broken dreams. But something about it called to me. It was the middle of summer, the kind of night where the air sticks to your skin. My friend Ryan and I were supposed to see a movie, but I told him, hey, I want to show you something first. He agreed, of course. We were always chasing something weird. As we drove down that stretch of road, the house came into view, standing against the dying light like a skeleton. The windows were just hollow holes, staring out at us. I flicked on my headlights as I turned into the gravel driveway. The beams swept across the front of the structure, bare wood framing, piles of bricks, and a faint shimmer of glass from a cracked window. We sat there maybe 10 seconds, just long enough to take it in. Then, something in my gut told me to leave. As I pulled back onto the road, I noticed bright lights flare up in my rearview mirror. A big truck, maybe a pickup, had just pulled out behind us. At first, I thought nothing of it. Rural Georgia roads, everyone drives trucks. But then it got closer, too close. Its high beams burned into my mirrors, lighting up the whole interior of my car. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Dude? He's really close. I tried to laugh it off. Yeah, probably just some farmer heading home. But the truck didn't back off. It stayed there, riding my bumper, almost touching me. Every turn I took, it followed. Every slowdown, it slowed too. I turned right at the next light, trying to lose him. But he didn't turn. Instead, he cut through the gas station at the corner and came straight across, blocking my car sideways in the lane. For a moment, everything went silent. The road that had been busy just seconds before was suddenly empty. No headlights, no passing cars, just the glow of the gas station lights and the hulking shadow of the truck in front of us. The driver's door opened, and this man, this huge, broad-shouldered figure, stepped out. He looked like someone straight out of a nightmare, shaved head, dark jacket, and eyes that didn't blink. He walked straight to my window and knocked. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the window control. He leaned down, his face inches from mine, and said, "What were you boys doing at that house?" His voice was deep, rough, like gravel dragged across metal. I could feel Ryan's breath hitch beside me. My mind was spinning, but somehow I managed to stammer, We were just turning around." "Just a U-turn, sir." He stared at me for what felt like forever. Then slowly, he smiled, not a friendly smile. The kind that makes your stomach drop. The kind that means he knows you're lying. Finally, he said, "Be careful where you turn around. Some places ain't for kids." And just like that, he stepped back, climbed into his truck, and drove off into the dark. Ryan and I didn't speak the rest of the night. We just sat in the theater parking lot, trying to make sense of it. We never went back to that house. None of us did. But here's the thing, 15 years later, that house is still there, unfinished, empty, waiting. And every time I pass it, I still wonder, who was that man? Was he protecting something? Or someone? Sometimes when I drive past late at night, I see a single light glowing from one of the broken windows. But no one's ever lived there. And if you stop, if you stare too long, you might just see those high beams appear in your rearview mirror.